adventures in time and space, told in future tense. Dimension. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, bring you Dimension X.
This is the story of the second expedition to the planet of Landro. I am recording it for any future expeditions which might land on this God-forsaken sphere, in the hope that they may learn from our tragic example. As I write, there are 2 of us left. 2 out of an original complement of 180 men. One of us, myself, will be dead in less than 27 minutes. As for the other, heaven have mercy on him. This is how it happened. On June 3rd, 1997, less than 2 months ago, the last of our supply ships blasted off Landro, headed for Earth.
Well, there she goes. Like a big-bottomed bird, huh?
Like to be a boarder, that is?
Me? Listen, Captain, I've been kicking around with you from one planet to another for so long now, they're all getting to be the same.
Not this one, Batty, not Landro.
No, maybe you're right there. I ain't never been on one like this. It's a cemetery, that's what it is. A big, cold cemetery. Them empty cities, that's what does it. Sitting there like they was tombs.
Batty, you're getting to be a poet in your old age.
I ain't so poetic. I didn't remember to swipe a bottle of Irish off that supply ship.
What?
Right here.
You know, Brady, if you weren't the best all-around cook and troubleshooter I ever shipped, I'd court-martial you.
Well, since I ain't being court-martialed, how about we should open this Irish head tonic after supper tonight? Right?
Right. We walked back to the cluster of plastic huts we called the base. It was beginning to freeze up, and that purplish glow had settled across the planet. Yes, it was like a cemetery, all right. A cemetery of dead cities. We walked past one of them, a huge plastic dome with tall, graceful buildings, atomic power systems, vacuum conveyors. All perfect, all deserted, all ominous. How had it happened? Nobody knew for sure. But the best guess was that the plague had frightened the original inhabitants of the planet so that they had piled into rocket ships and headed for some distant planet. I often wondered why a civilization so advanced as Landro could not find a serum to beat the plague. Well, maybe the Aborigines back in the hills knew the answer. Those strange, ugly little people who were taken to the caves the day we landed. All we knew of them was what we found in the anthropological report of the expedition which preceded ours, and an occasional glimpse by someone on a hunting patrol. When I reached my shack, Morgan, the expedition surgeon, was waiting for me. He was sweating like a pig, and it wasn't the heat because my shack was as cold as the grave.
Good evening, Captain Morgan.
What brings you here?
Yes, Doctor? A matter of the serum, sir.
What about the serum?
It's just that, well, it's no good.
No good?
It's too cold. 10 years too cold.
But didn't you examine it?
Yes, I did, but, well, my eyesight has been failing lately.
Well, are you aware, Doctor, that the last supply ship has returned to Earth? Do you know we'll have no more contact for 2 years?
Well, I must have misread the label, sir.
Dr. Morgan, just how long do you give us?
Well, the present immunity will last a week or so, and then it's just a question of time until someone picks up the plague. After that,
a month. 2 months at most. Do you have any thoughts as to how we might save ourselves?
No, sir, I'm afraid not.
What about the natives? They don't die from the plague.
They must have a treatment for it. If they didn't, there would be no natives.
Would you be willing to go on an expedition to the hills to find out?
Right now, Captain, I'd be willing to do anything. Absolutely anything. I'm truly sorry, sir.
You're sorry. Dr. Morgan, would you mind telling me how it feels to murder 180 men? 181? Including yourself? lot of thinking after Dr. Morgan left my hut. It was still unreal for me. After all, the planning of an expedition was no simple thing. You put into it the results of years of training and experience. Every man on my crew was handpicked for his skill. And yet a simple thing like a myopic surgeon misreading a label could blast the whole thing. Yes, it was a shame. I did the only thing I could think of. I yelled for Batty Brady. Brady, get your carcass in here and hurry it up.
Okay. What's up?
Sit down, Batty.
You got trouble, Ira?
We got trouble.
What?
The serum's no good.
What?
Morgan forgot to check it. It's 10 years too old.
Holy jumping snails. You're going to court martial?
Well, that wouldn't do much good. We'll all be dead pretty soon unless somebody figures something out.
Why did they send these civilians with us?
Well, it was a mistake. Anybody can make a mistake. Only this was a big one.
Ira, what are you going to do?
Well, there's only one chance. One chance in 10 million.
What?
The natives.
Them cave rats, what good can they do us?
They don't get the plague.
So?
So maybe they know a cure.
Oh, listen, those gimpos don't know nothing. Take it from me.
It's the only chance.
Okay, let's get a few of them and beat it out of them.
That's why you're here.
Shoot.
How'd you like to come along on a little expedition up to the cave country?
That's a good way to die young.
We die young anyway.
Okay, what's the pitch?
Now, we don't dare let the rest of the camp know. It would knock our morale to pieces.
Who's going?
You, me, the doctor, and Faulkner.
Faulkner? Listen, Ira, he's worse than the doc.
Well, I know he isn't exactly the man for a hunting trip, but he knows more about the native culture than anybody here. Now, he's the only one who's completely familiar with the records of the first expedition.
Okay, so it's me, you, the doc, and Faulkner. When do we start?
Tonight, in half an hour. Now, we should reach the cave country by tomorrow. With luck, we'll be able to find natives before night.
And then the fun starts. You know, Ira, them gimpos don't exactly love us.
Nobody loves us Battiers. That's one of the great paradoxes about this job. We come here to help them, to civilize them so they can live like human beings instead of pack rats, and they run off to the hills and hide from us. Like we had the... I almost said plague. Okay, Battiers, get the doc and Faulkner. Benny Faulkner's body was small and consumptive. But he had a good brain. He was the best anthropologist the Interplanet Institute could recommend. He and Dr. Morgan were the only two civilians on the expedition. The rest of us were all Army or Space Patrol. And we hadn't been marching very long before Benny's frail constitution began to show signs of wear and tear.
What's the matter, Benny?
It's nothing. Just the dust. I'm allergic to dust.
You hear that, Ira? He's allergic to dust. We better call out the expedition.
Easy, Battiers.
Yes, sir.
Want to rest a while, Faulkner?
It's okay. I can make it.
Well, we should be in the cave country in an hour or so. It'll be daybreak then, and the going will be easier. How about you, Doctor? I'll make it. Okay. Let's go.
Ira,
What is it?
don't look now, but very slowly turn your eyes to the right and look behind that big yellow rock.
Okay.
You see anything?
No.
Keep looking. Don't stop walking or let on.
Okay.
There.
Look like a shadow or something.
One of them gimpos. He's been following us now for almost an hour, dodging in and out behind rocks. I think there's more of them, too, but I couldn't swear.
Well, anyway, they know we're coming. That's for sure.
What do you think? Should we bring one in?
Not yet. We don't know how many of them there are. Just pretend you don't see them. And above all, tell the others to show no signs of fear. There's nothing will start these simple-minded cavemen like fear. That was it. The manual said under no circumstances shall a member of the patrol display fear before a native. The dignity of the Earthman must be preserved at all costs. Walk erect, be firm but just, and do not allow the native to feel he is your superior. It was a good rule, and it always worked. Just before dawn, we reached the cave country. We were tired and hungry, and we stopped to cook some food and rest. Everything was quiet. There's no sign of the Gimpo, as Thaddeus called him, until...
Come on, boy, break your shit.
What's your trouble?
Look at me, Ira. They caught me one of these gimpos sneaking around outside the tent. He almost slit my throat with one of those stone knives he did. Yeah.
Bring him into the light of the fire where we can get a look.
Yeah, right.
Faulkner.
Yes, sir?
Try to establish some communication.
All right, get it.
Look out! Now, no need to knock him down, Thaddeus.
That's the only language they understand.
Faulkner, see if you can reach him.
Okay, Captain. I'll need a drum of some sort.
Oh, what?
Well, I find they communicate with one another through a very primitive kind of vibration of the tongue. Now, the closest I can come is a series of drum beats, a sort of a Morse code. The psychologist on the first expedition had it worked out before he was killed by the plague. I've studied his notes, and I think it'll work.
You mean these animals can talk to one another?
I believe they can. At any rate, we'll have a chance to find out. Do we have something I can use for a drum?
Oh, here. Take my helmet.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, I'll tap it 4 times. That's a greeting of some sort.
Oh, just a moment.
Yes, sir?
I don't want you treating this fellow like an equal. Don't give him the idea that we're desperate. Once they sense that, we're lost.
All right. Here we go. Now I'll give him the helmet. Good. He seems to understand. What shall I ask him, sir?
Now, first, tell him we come in peace. Reassure him that we don't wish to hurt him or his people.
I'll try. He seems to understand. He wants to answer.
Well?
He says, others, like you, came to Landro.
You must mean the first expedition. Go on. I want you to lead around to the subject of the plague gradually. Don't let on that we're desperate.
I'll do my best, sir.
It's a strange sight. On one side of the helmet crouched little Benny Faulkner. Across from him crouched the Landrian. A humpbacked, gray little creature with an enormous head and those soft, lavender eyes. I'm setting forth in this narrative the transcript of their conversation as Benny Faulkner later transcribed it from the best of his memory. Faulkner, we come as friends. Native. Why? Faulkner, we will help you to rebuild your cities and make your machines work again.
Why?
We want to help you to enjoy the benefits of the great culture which once thrived on Landro.
Why?
Because we want to help you.
If we ask you not to help us, will you go away?
We stay for your own good. We have helped many others on other planets.
How?
We teach them a better way to live. Their way of life was better than your way.
Have you tried our way?
Why were your cities abandoned? Was it the plague?
Yes.
Do you still fear the plague?
Yes.
Do any of your people become afflicted?
Some.
How do you treat them? How do you keep the plague from spreading? Do you have a cure? How can we find a cure for the plague?
Go among my people.
Will we find the answer among your people?
My people have the answer.
Will you tell me the answer?
Go among my people.
The drum beats ended. As far as the Landrian was concerned, the conversation was ended. He rose to go, and Faulkner stepped from his path. But Brady was there to ensure the best.
Hold on there, bucko. You ain't going no place.
Don't maltreat him, Brady. What'd he say, Benny?
He says his people have the answer.
What do you think?
Well, there may be some truth in it. He says some of his people still get the plague.
That must mean it isn't a question of immunity. They must have a cure.
Well, he wasn't clear on that, Doctor.
Then they must have a vaccine to keep it from spreading.
Does he know?
Evidently not.
I could beat it out of him.
I don't think he's lying.
Well, that leaves it up to us. Now, the first level of caves are on top of that cliff about a mile ahead.
It's a trap. I'll bet my last dollar on it.
Maybe not. We'll have to risk it.
Now, wait.
Yes, Doctor.
Let me go. I got you all into this.
How will you talk?
Well, Benny here can give me enough of the code so I can ask the big question.
All right, Doctor. We'll wait at the foot of the cliff. Now, you go on ahead. If you aren't back down in 3 hours, we'll come up after you.
What about the Gimpo we've got?
Now, we'll hold him as a hostage to ensure the doctor's safety.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the doc comes back, all right. We'll let him go. Your job, that is.
A pleasure.
Don't kick him.
Natch. But if he gives me any trouble, I'll take a shovel to his bottom. You can count on that.
It took Dr. Morgan about an hour to pick his way up the side of the cliff to the first of the openings where the Landrians lived. He waved to us before he entered the mouth of the cave. And we waved back. Then we settled down to wait. It was a long, long wait.
8 o'clock. He's been up there more than 3 hours, Ira.
We'll give him a little more time.
It's getting colder.
Now keep the fire going.
You think we'd have heard something by now? If that was going to knock him off, I mean.
Well, not necessarily. Wait. Look. Up on the cliff.
That's the doctor.
What's he running for?
I don't know.
He looks scared.
Crazy fool. If he don't look
Hey,
out...
Doctor! Dr. Morgan, look out! Look out! Crumpled and broken. We never knew why he had thrown himself off. Scrawled across the pad he had taken with him, on which to make notes concerning the answer, was a single word. The word was courtesy. The expedition was a failure. Okay, that's it. I have to head back for camp and just wait and pray.
Not just yet, Ira. Okay?
What's on your mind, Battier?
If it's all the same to you, I'd like to take the Gimpo here out behind the rocks and have a talk with him. Okay, Ira?
What do you think you'll accomplish?
I don't know. Just a quiet little talk.
No violence.
No violence. Just a real, earnest type conversation. Okay, Ira?
It was one of those decisions the commanding officer dreads. 180 lives against the chance that Battiers could persuade the little gray man to give an answer he might not even know. I nodded, and Battiers took the little native off behind an outcropping of rock. He was back in 15 minutes, dripping with sweat. Well?
Let's go.
Nothing, huh?
But nothing.
Is he,
Yeah, they ain't made very good, those little gray people. They come apart too easy. So, let's go, Ira.
All right. Benny. Benny. What is...
I feel kind of sick all of a sudden.
Huh. He's got a weak stomach. Dust allergy.
Wait a minute. What is it, Benny?
Back of my head. Dull kind of pain.
Stick out your tongue. Give him a hand, Battiers. We've got to get him back to camp.
What is it?
I'm not sure. But that blackness on the tongue and the headache, it could be the plague. By the time we got Benny Faulkner back to camp, he had the red spots on his body. And then the fever began to rage. It was the plague, no mistake about it. Before morning, Collins, the supply sergeant, had it. Then it was Peabody. After that, the men went down like hens. They screamed and moaned. And then they died. Come. Hello, Battiers.
Ira?
Have a drink. It's the last of the cough medicine.
Yeah. Tired. Oh, man, I've never been so tired.
What's the count?
We lost 6 more today.
6. That makes 29 dead. 29 in less than a week.
Some stinking natives, they put the whammy on it.
I take it easy.
Easy. I'd like to take a machine gun up to them hills and knock off the whole bunch of them.
How's Benny?
Now, that's the funny thing. I went into his tent this morning figuring sure he'd be dead by now. Instead, I see his fever is down a couple of points.
That's amazing. He usually gets him in a matter of days. Faulkner's been hanging on for weeks now. Well, keep an eye on him. It was a nightmare of eternity after that. A ceaseless round of caring for the stricken and helping with the graves and writing in the book the names of those who died. Sleep came in snatches over when we were so exhausted we couldn't stand. Then one morning, Batty-Ears Brady dragged himself into my shack. Sit down, Bat. What's it count?
6 left. We buried the chaplain today. You got a cigarette?
Yeah, sure. How's Faulkner?
I don't get it.
Still alive?
He's getting better. He's sitting up.
Holy mackerel.
This is a good cigarette.
Not like any other.
No. Oh, this one's different, Ira. It's my last.
What do you mean?
Take a look at my tongue, Ira. See? Little black spots.
Somehow, I managed to get him into bed. He was already raving when I gave him the last of the morphine. It was incredible. Big, brawling Batty-Ears Brady, a tower of strength, lying sick and whimpering on a cot. I went out on the moors to think. The sun was a dull red glow. Cold breeze picked up. The planet of Landro was in emptiness. I thought about Batty-Ears and Dr. Morgan and Benny Faulkner. Why should Faulkner, of all of us, recover from the plague from which no man recovered? I turned and went back to see Benny Faulkner.
Hello, Captain.
Hello, Benny. How are you?
Good. Got up and walked a couple of steps today. How goes it?
Brady's down.
Oh.
Listen, Benny. There must be some reason why you survived the virus.
Well, how about you? Why didn't you ever even get it?
I give it time.
What can I do?
I want you to tell me everything you know about yourself, everything you can remember.
But why?
Because somewhere in your makeup is some little thing that makes the difference. At least I can leave a record for any future expedition that comes to Landro. Okay?
Okay, Captain Warner. Where do you want me to start?
At the beginning. Now, I'm going to take notes.
I was born on the 2nd of July in 1971. My parents were ordinary people. My father was everything I can remember. For 3 days now you've questioned me.
All right. Now take it from where the natives started to walk away. You stepped out of his path and Brady grabbed him.
Okay, so I stepped out of his path.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why did you step out of his path?
Well, why not? Courtesy, that's why. What's the matter?
Courtesy. Funny. That's the word that Dr. Morgan had written in his notebook.
Well, I don't see...
I don't either. Hey, tell me, why should you want to be courteous to a native?
Why not?
What about maintaining your own dignity?
Are you talking about dignity or arrogance? Look, I don't get this at all, Captain.
Now, you're familiar with the records left by the first expedition, Benny. What happened with the natives?
Well, the natives were friendly enough at first, but after a while they went back to the caves.
And when we got here, they wouldn't come near us, right?
Right.
Yet we came to help them.
So what?
So maybe this, Benny. Maybe we were all wet in our deductions. Maybe those cities weren't deserted centuries ago after all. Maybe these little people up in the caves are the same people who used to live in those cities.
Well, why should they leave?
Well, maybe they found out the big cities weren't the answer. Maybe they found out that civilization doesn't necessarily bring happiness. So they just packed up and left. Returned to the simple life.
That doesn't make sense. You're forgetting the plague.
Benny, what is the plague?
Well, I don't know.
I think the plague was nothing more than what we know as greed and arrogance.
Captain, you're going off your rocker.
I think maybe we were in line to die of it, even if the serum had been good.
Well, it violates all the laws of Earth.
We aren't on Earth. We're on Landro. A planet a million light years from home. Now, why are we trying to take these primitive, happy people and make them like ourselves? Why are we trying to mold them, to convince them that they belong in cities, that they should be building better can openers instead of just enjoying human relationships? Why, Benny? If that isn't sheer, stupid, crazy arrogance, my name isn't Ira Warren. The other four went that night. 3 days later, Buddy Brady died. In his delirium, he was howling about how if he could just get his hands on one of those stinking natives, he'd wring the answer out of him. After I buried him, I went back to Benny Faulkner's tent. Faulkner was getting out of bed as I entered.
How's he, Captain?
I just buried him.
Holy Mother in heaven. That means 2 of us. 2 out of 180.
Not 2. Just 1.
Oh, but you're all right.
I have a headache. I'm beginning to sweat a little, too.
Well, can I help you any?
No, I think I'll go back to my shack and finish writing the report.
Well, maybe it isn't the plague.
No, Benny, I've seen it too many times to kid myself about it.
Look, Captain, you don't believe that junk about courtesy, do you? I mean that stuff you were talking about the other night? That's a lot of nonsense. You must know that. Holy mackerel, Captain. You can't believe it. You can't.
Good night, Benny. I think I'd like to be alone for a while.
Okay. Good night, Captain Warren.
I'm turning it over to Benny Faulkner in the hopes that he will be able to transmit it to any other expedition commander who contemplates exploring the planet's Atlantis. The fever is beginning to mount now. My hands tremble as I write. The end should not be far off. You see, I didn't have a chance. I stepped out of no path.
You have just heard another adventure into the unknown world of the future. A world of Dimension X. We are just beginning to discover how boundless our universe really is. And yet, what would it be like to live in a world no larger, say, than a single gigantic rocket ship? You'll find out more about it on Dimension X next week when we present Robert Heinlein's Universe. Dimension X is presented each week by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Street & Smith, publishers of the magazine Astounding Science Fiction. Today, Dimension X has presented Courtesy from the current issue of Astounding Science Fiction. It was written for radio by George Lefferts from the story by Clifford Simak. Featured in the cast were Lawson Zerbe as Captain Warren, Bill Zuckert as Battiers Brady, and Bill Gray as Benny Faulkner. Your host was Norman Rose. Music by Albert Berman. Dimension X is produced by William Welch and directed by Fred Way. Adventures in time and space, told in future. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, bring you Dimension X. By the year 1990, we should see many amazing technological advances. And yet, in many ways, life will be very much the same. A husband will stop off at a bar on his way home and perhaps unburden himself a little to a friendly bartender.
Number one, Mr. Smith.
What time is it, Sam?
Why, almost 10 o'clock, Mr. Smith.
One more.
Listen to them. The old times are still the best, huh, Mr. Smith?
Yes, Sam. I remember singing that one back in 1974. Just before I met my wife. Golden days, Sam.
Here's your beer, Mr. Smith.
Thanks. That's good. Almost feels if I can go home and face Nettie now.
Wife trouble, Mr. Smith?
Wife trouble, Sam.
Fight?
Oh, never. Nettie and I never fight. Nettie's too mad about me ever to fight with me. She adores me. Worships the ground I walk on.
Well, this is something new. I remember only last year you was complaining she was throwing.
And times have changed. Only wish she was still throwing things. At least in those days I could walk out and slam the door with a clear conscience. Now she's so sweet and loving, I feel like a murderer every time I stop in for a beer on my way home.
Tough, Mr. Smith. Tough.
Ever hear the expression, love will fly if held too lightly, love will die if held too tightly?
Can't say I ever did.
If only she'd relax a little bit. Bruise on my lip. She kisses me. For an hour every night when I come home.
Can you do anything for her?
I try. I remind her that she really wanted to marry Harvey Tubman. I remind her how we used to have those battles till the neighbors called the robot police. Nothing works. I'm gone for an hour. She cries.
Well, me, I ain't got that kind of trouble. I hang around too much, and Mabel calls me a loafer and turns me up.
That's a sad state. Can't figure him out. Well, I guess I'll go home and feed myself to the lioness. I tell you, Sam, when Nettie gets finished demonstrating how much she's missed me, I feel like a man who's been stuffed into an electronic washing machine with a dial set at rinse dry. How much do I owe you?
60 cents.
Well, if it isn't Henry Smith.
Brailing. So I live and breathe as Brailing. What are you doing here?
Oh, having the night out.
Does Gloria know about this?
Things have changed, Henry.
I thought she kept you chained to the bedpost most of the time.
Not anymore, Henry. Not anymore.
Oh, you aren't divorced, are you?
Oh, no. Gloria's home.
What'd you do, put a sleeping powder in her coffee?
Oh, goodness, no, Henry. That would be highly unethical.
I can't believe you just walked out on her.
10 years of marriage, Henry, and I never had a night to myself. But it'll be different from now on.
Oh?
By the way, Henry, what time is it?
10 o'clock.
Well, I guess I'd better be going.
Scared?
No, don't want to crowd my luck. Although really there's nothing to worry about.
I'd sure like to know how you do it, Walter.
Would you really?
Yes.
All right, Henry. Since you've always been a friend of mine, I'll let you in on it. Come on, my car is outside. I'll drive you home and let you see how it's done.
Well, that's nice of you, Walter.
Not at all, Henry. We fellows have to stick together. I don't suppose you know how Gloria and I came to be married in the first place, eh?
No, I don't.
Well, one evening, she threatened to tear off her clothing and call the police unless I married her.
No.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's a bit extreme, isn't it?
Well, Gloria was always a nervous girl.
I bet you had a pretty wretched time of it.
Oh, yes, it didn't take long for me to become the laughing stock of the neighborhood. Hand-pecked Brailing, they used to call me. I know, but things are changing now. Here, you see this?
What's that?
A single ticket to Rio on the morning rocket. I have hotel reservations there for a month. A whole month, Henry, to have a fling.
Won't Gloria make trouble over that?
That's the amazing part of it, Henry. She won't even know I'm gone. I'll be back in a month and no one the wiser. You don't believe me, do you?
Frankly, no. Just how you going to swing it, Walter?
That
The secret, Henry, I tell you, it's the most wonderful thing ever invented. Worth every cent I paid for it.
What is
I'm going to show you. Here's my house. Notice the lights are all out. Shh. We'll wait up there on the front porch.
Walter, you haven't gone off your rocker, have you?
Shh. Now, I meow twice. Now, Henry, watch the window in my bedroom.
Well, it looks as if somebody... Hey, there's a man up there. He's looking out.
Good. He sees me. He'll be down directly.
Isn't this a bit embarrassing for you, Walter?
Oh, not at all. You'll find out. Here he comes. Hello, B2.
Oh, good evening, Mr. Brayling.
Close the door.
Either I'm going out of my mind or there are two of you. You never told me you had a twin brother.
I don't.
But if this fellow weren't in pajamas, I couldn't tell you apart.
That's the secret, Henry. Everything go all right, B2?
Oh, just fine, Mr. Brayling.
I suppose my wife was in her usual good form this evening?
As a matter of fact, we spent the evening playing gin.
No screaming? No shouting accusation?
Oh, no, sir. It was a very quiet evening.
Well, this is even better than I thought.
Well, Marionettes Incorporated aims to satisfy, sir.
Did he say Marionettes Incorporated?
That's right, Henry. Look him over. Isn't he excellently fashioned? You wouldn't dream he was a robot, a marionette, eh?
Oh, I can't believe it.
It's against the law, of course, to duplicate a human like this, but it's well worth the opportunity.
Well, I still don't believe it. You can't tell him from a human.
Only one way, Henry. Put your ear next to his chest. Listen. That's it.
Machinery. Walter, old man, how long's this been going on?
I've had him a month, Henry. I keep him in the cellar in my toolbox. Now, tonight I told Gloria I'd like to be excused for 5 minutes to run down to the cigar store. She agreed. I went down to the cellar, took out Brayling 2, sent him back upstairs to sit with my wife until I got home.
Miraculous. Of course, it doesn't seem quite ethical somehow.
Oh, nonsense. It's highly ethical. I've been home all evening. I shall be home with her for the next month. In the meantime, another gentleman named Walter Brayling will be in Rio having the time of his life.
Well, can he walk around without fuel for a month?
Oh, he refuels himself, and he's built to do everything. Eat, drink, sleep. You'll take good care of my wife, won't you, B2?
Oh, of course. Your wife is rather nice. I've grown quite fond of her.
You see?
Walter, old man, how long has this Marionettes Incorporated outfit been in business?
Secretly, for 2 years now. Why?
Well, I wonder, is there a possibility that I might get in touch with him?
You? But you love your Nettie.
Well, I know, but even so, just a little respite, a night or two once a month.
And she loves you dearly.
So much she can't barely leave me with for half an hour. You know that lately she's taken to calling me up at work 10 or 12 times a day to talk baby talk?
Your Nettie?
My Nettie. What do you say, old man? A favorite with old buddy? Fellow lodge member?
Well, I could put you in touch with the man who makes them. Of course, you'd be pledged to secrecy once you learned where he's located.
Oh, naturally.
Very well, Henry. Here's his card.
Marionettes Incorporated, W. Zig, proprietor and owner. New humanoid plastic 1990 model guaranteed against wear. Our motto, no strings attached. Address the Jumble Shop, 43 South Wesley Drive.
And Mr. Zig will take good care of you, Henry. He's a charming fellow, a real craftsman.
Wonderful. I'll see him first thing tomorrow. Well, I'd better be getting home now, though. Nettie's probably splitting a gasket.
See you around, old man, after I get back from Rio. And while I'm gone, you might drop around regularly, just as you always have. Treat Brayling, too, here as if he were me. Otherwise, Gloria might be suspicious.
Oh, I will. And, before I go, these marionettes are safe, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, tell him, B2. We're guaranteed.
Fine. Well, good night, Walter. Good night, B2.
Good night, Mr. Smith.
Good night, Henry. Well, I'm glad someone else will have a chance at a little happiness and freedom. All right, Brayling 2. Back into the cellar box for you. Come on. Down the steps. That's it.
It's very damp down here, Mr. Brayling.
Bad plumbing. Well, here we are.
Brayling.
Yes.
Before you put me back into the toolbox, could we have a word?
Certainly, old man.
This toolbox.
What about it?
Well, I don't like it, Mr. Brayling.
Why not?
It's cramped.
Oh. Well, I'll try to fix up something more comfortable when I get back from Rio. All right, now, before Glory gets worried, back.
Marionettes are made to move, not to keep still. How would you like to lie in a stuffy old box most of the time?
I didn't realize you fellas were that sensitive.
Well, you wouldn't like it at all. I keep running. There's no way to shut me off. I have my feelings, you know.
Well, day after tomorrow, I'll be off to Rio, and you won't have to stay in the box for a whole month. Or you can move upstairs.
But when you get back from Rio, I'll go back in the box.
Mr. Zig didn't tell me at Marionettes Incorporated that it was possible to get a difficult specimen.
There's a lot he doesn't know about us. We're pretty new.
Now, look here, B2. This has gone far enough.
I'll never get to Rio.
Now, come on now. Into the box.
And another thing.
Well...
Your wife.
What about my wife?
Well, I've grown quite fond of her.
Well, I'm glad you enjoy your employment. You'll have the whole month.
But you don't quite understand, Brayling. I've fallen in love with her.
You what?
You just don't appreciate her. Maybe if you hadn't always acted so meek and apologetic about everything, she'd have a little more respect for you as a man.
Well, now, you aren't supposed to behave like this. You know you
think you... Well, anyway, I could be very happy if I were married to Gloria.
Aren't you forgetting you're nothing but a big, overgrown puppet?
Careful, Brayling. I'm sensitive.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Now, look. You wouldn't mind waiting here a moment, would you? I have to go upstairs and make a phone call.
To whom?
Oh, nobody important. I have to call Henry Smith about something.
Lang, you're going to call Marionettes Incorporated and tell Mr. Zig to come and get...
Oh, no, really, I'm not. I was... B2, stay away.
Stand where you are, Brayling.
Now, B2, take your hand off my arm.
No, Brayling.
What are you going to do?
Nothing much. I'm just going to put you in the toolbox, lock it, and lose the key.
What?
And then I'll buy another ticket to Rio, and Gloria and I can have a wonderful vacation.
You're insane.
Am I?
Now, wait a minute. Hold on, B2. Now, don't be rash. Let's talk this over.
Goodbye, Brayling.
B2, stop it. Don't. Let go.
What? Brayling?
Stop.
There.
Walter!
Yes, Gloria?
What in the world are you doing down there at this time of night?
Oh, nothing, lover. The pipes were knocking. I'm just making sure the boiler hasn't exploded. You go back to bed. I'll be up soon.
Oh, hurry, won't you? We had such a nice evening. I'm lonesome for you.
Oh, you won't ever be lonesome again, darling. Never again.
Good morning, Nettie.
Oh, good morning, darling. How are you? Have a nice time last night? I missed you so.
Breakfast ready?
Aren't you going to kiss me good morning?
Oh, yes, I suppose so.
Oh, you're so wonderful, Henry. I guess I'm the luckiest person in the world.
Oh.
Here's your coffee. And how would you like your eggs?
Anyway, it's all.
Oh, but I want to please you.
Oh, Nettie skipped the eggs this morning.
Oh, but you have to eat to keep well, darling.
I'm very healthy. I have an early business appointment.
Oh?
It's a friend of Walter Brayling's. I met Walter last night, and he...
Yes?
I'd better be off. Now, Nettie, don't look as if I were on my way to Rio or something. I'm only going to work.
It's just that I miss you so. I want to be with you all the time.
Do I have to go through this every morning? I'll be back at supper. There's no need to cry now, is there?
You know, darling. You aren't displeased with me, are you? I try so hard to do everything just as I think you'll like it.
No, I'm not displeased. Well, goodbye, dear.
Henry?
Yes?
You forgot to kiss me goodbye.
No strings attached, no strings attached. A very nice puppet with no strings attached. Let's see now. The Jungle Shop, 43 South Wesley. That should be about... here it is.
Yes?
Mr. Zig?
Yes?
Walter Brayling recommended me.
Enter. Your name?
Henry Smith, 55 Evergreen Place.
And what can we do for you, Mr. Smith?
Well, Brayling showed me his marionette last night.
I see.
I was intrigued with the idea. And not that my wife is anything like that female meat grinder that he's married to, you understand, but, I'm a man who enjoys an occasional evening with the boys, without complications.
Naturally.
So I thought
that I could duplicate you.
Exactly.
I think it might be arranged. You understand the need for secrecy, of course. Although an act is pending in Congress to legalize Marionettes Incorporated, it is still a felony to use one of my creations.
Well, I understand.
And there is the matter of the payment.
How much?
$9,000.
$9,000?
Well, I have an inferior model at $7,500.
No, if I go through with this, nothing's too good for Nettie. Nettie's my wife. We've been putting money aside to buy a summer house in Westport.
Sometimes we must choose.
Yes. Perhaps I could just slip out $9,000. It's a joint account. How soon can I have it?
I could construct the mannequin in about 2 months' time.
Good.
Shall I consider the order placed?
At once.
Of course, you will have to report here for a body mold, color index of your hair, lips, skin, etc. And I'll have to do a complete electro-emotional calibration.
You guarantee that these models are foolproof?
As foolproof as I can make them, Mr. Smith, and I've had years of training.
No chance of detection?
None whatsoever. I've never had a complaint.
Walter Brayling seems satisfied enough.
I assure you, he's been taken care of in high style.
So there's some way to be sure.
You have our guarantee.
Very well, Mr. Zig. I'll get the money from the bank and send it to you.
Fine. You'll be just as delighted with yours as Walter Brayling is with his.
Oh, tell her.
Yes, Mr. Smith?
I'd like to cash this draft on my joint account.
Yes, sir. $9,000, sir.
That's right.
Well, I'm afraid that's impossible, Mr. Smith.
Impossible. My wife and I have a good $15,000 in our account.
You're mistaken, Mr. Smith.
Oh, but I know.
Here's your card, sir. You see, Mrs. Smith withdrew $10,000 recently.
$10,000? Without even telling me?
I remember distinctly, Mr. Smith. She said it was for a surprise for you.
Good Lord. She's bought that house in Connecticut. My birthday's next week. Well, I'll have to borrow it somewhere. I've already contracted.
Yes, sir. Quite a surprise for you, eh, Mr. Smith?
Yes? Oh, hello, Henry.
Hello, Gloria. Is Walter home? I'd like to speak to him.
Well, come in.
Thank you.
Is something wrong?
Well, just some private business. Matter of a loan.
Well, he went down to the travel bureau, but he should be back soon. We're going to Rio, you know.
Both of you?
Isn't it wonderful? I don't know what's come over Walter lately. He's been so romantic. Last night he came upstairs and said, darling... He hasn't called me darling in years. Darling, we're going to take a honeymoon to Rio. So we're leaving tomorrow. Anything wrong, Henry?
No. No, I'm just a little surprised, that's all.
Well, he should be back soon. Will you wait?
Yes, I'd better.
Say, as long as you're over here, maybe you can help me with something.
What?
Well, I went downstairs to get an old suitcase a little while ago, and I heard the strangest noises near that old tool chest of Walter's. He mentioned that the boiler was acting up, and I'm afraid to go down there again. I wonder if you'd take a look.
What kind of noises?
Like a thumping sound.
Maybe I'd better go down, Gloria. You stay up here.
Should I call a plumber, do you think?
No, I'll take care of it.
Shall I call a bell?
I'll have a look. Good Lord. Hello in there. Oh, just a minute. Keep quiet, for goodness sake. I'll have to smash the lock. Now, what in the...
Henry, thank God you've come.
Be quiet.
I've been in there all night. I thought I'd suffocate. He tried to kill me, Henry. He tried to murder me.
Who? Which one are you?
Don't be an idiot. I'm Walter.
What happened?
The Marionette. He stuffed me in the toolbox and left me to suffocate. Well, fortunately, I found an old file in there and managed to get an air hole through the wood.
Good Lord. He's taking Gloria with him to Rio.
Have they left yet?
No, he's gone downtown for the tickets.
Oh, good. We may just have time.
For what?
To get down to Marionettes Incorporated and tell Zig to stop him.
Well, you're in no condition.
Don't worry about me. We can't waste any time. Come on.
But Gloria...
Sneak out. Tell her you fixed the plumbing. Tell her anything. I'll meet you outside.
All right.
Oh, what a fool I've been.
What a fool I almost was. I went down and ordered one of those things today. Gloria, love.
Yes, darling. Did you get the tickets to Rio? Bill?
Ah, right here in my wallet. Honeymoon for two under the pampas smooth.
Oh, Walter, it's so nice to have you like this.
You like the change?
I don't know what did it, but whatever it is, I'm in favor of it. I hope it's permanent.
Oh, I intend to see that it is. Oh, by the way, darling, do you happen to remember where that old pistol of mine is?
Pistol?
Yes, I just thought since we're going to be traveling in strange countries, it wouldn't hurt to bring it along.
Oh. Well, I think it's here in the sideboard. Yes, there. Oh, Walter, you know how frightened I am of those things.
Oh, I'll be very careful of it. In fact, I think I'll go down the basement and practice. Not really shooting it, of course, just to make sure it's in good working order.
Oh, do be careful, darling.
Oh, I will. If you should hear a shot, dear, don't be frightened. I may fire it into a block of wood just to test it. Perhaps I'll fire into that old tool chest of mine. Yeah, that should absorb it.
Oh, speaking of that tool chest.
Yes, what about it?
It reminds me that Henry Smith was here.
Oh?
Well, I heard some noises downstairs here, and he went down to fix the plumbing.
Is he still down there?
No, he left. I really don't understand it. He seemed so anxious to see you before he went down to the cellar, and then he just left.
Oh. Did he stop the noises?
Well, he must have. I don't hear them.
I see.
What is it, dear?
I have to go out for a while, darling.
Walter, we'll have to pack if we're leaving.
I'll be back soon. There's something very important I have to attend to.
Oh, what is it?
Just some personal business with Henry Smith. Please excuse me, darling, and don't worry. When I get back, everything will be fixed once and for all. Yes, we can enjoy the rest of our lives just as though the old Walter Brayling never existed.
Mr. Brayling and Mr. Smith.
Yes, Mr. Zig.
Come in, gentlemen.
We certainly will come in.
What brings you?
A good deal, Mr. Zig. Yes, indeed, a good deal.
If I might know exactly, you seem so upset.
Tell him, Henry. You told me your marionettes were foolproof, Mr. Zig.
They are. My personal guarantee goes with each one.
We know all about your personal guarantee. Except that Mr. Brayling's dummy knocked him out, stuffed him in a toolbox to suffocate, and is making plans to run away with his wife.
Oh, dear.
Well, Mr. Zig?
Oh, I really don't know what to say, gentlemen. You see, I work alone. I make these marionettes myself so that I can see to it personally that there are no errors. However, even the finest craftsman can make a mistake once in a while.
What Mr. Brayling and I would like to know, Mr. Zig, is exactly what are you planning to do to stop this over-ambitious robot?
Well, of course, we shall have to recover B2 first, and then I will simply dismantle him.
He doesn't seem to want to be dismantled, Mr. Zig. In fact, I think you'll have trouble catching him.
Maybe I can save you the trouble, gentlemen.
B2, look out. He has a gun.
I thought I'd find you here when I discovered the tool chest empty.
Now, look, B2, whatever you're planning to do, you won't get away with it.
I think I will.
Mr. Zig, can't you do something?
I'm afraid I can't think of anything.
I'll save you the trouble, because I'm going to kill the three of you.
Oh, you won't get away with it.
No. You forget that Gloria and I will be on a plane to Rio in a few hours. All right, Mr. Z. You first.
Oh, now see here, this isn't fair. I created you. You can't do...
Grab him. Get him quick. Break that hammer.
Wow. That's the end of Brayling, too.
Oh, thank heaven. Henry, you got Zig right through the...
Oh, holy jumping catfish.
Henry, look at him. Look at Zig.
Nothing but a mass of coils and springs, just like Brayling, too.
Well, he's nothing but a marionette.
It's no different from water. You know what this means?
It's incredible.
A marionette building other marionettes.
But someone must have built Mr. Zig originally.
Well, perhaps Mr. Zig turned on whoever built him the same way that Brayling, too, turned on you.
Well, at any rate, we'll never know.
I wonder how many of these things are walking around among us.
Oh, I shudder to think of it.
Some of our best friends might be... Come on, we got to get out of here.
But the police?
Don't be a fool. There's been no crime committed here. All the police will find was two oversized puppets with the springs coming out of them.
But they seem so lifelike.
They're only machinery. You've got to remember that.
Well, what'll I tell Gloria?
If I were you, Brayling, I wouldn't tell Gloria a thing. I'd simply pick up that other ticket to Rio and take her on a honeymoon.
What about you, Henry? What are you going to do?
Me? I'm going home and give Nettie a kiss that'll singe her hair. I'll even forgive her for taking that $10,000 out of the bank without telling me. You know, when I think of what might have happened if I'd gone through with this marionette thing, what makes a fella realize how lucky he is to be married to a decent woman. Let's go.
you, sweetheart?
In here, darling.
I've missed you today. Come here.
Oh, Henry. Oh. Oh, you look tired, darling. Can I do something for you? Just tell me. I'm yours to command.
Oh, a man's a fool to jeopardize a nice home and a loving wife like you. You do love me, don't you, Nettie?
You know I do. Here, let me get your slippers on.
Ah, feels good to sit back on the sofa and relax. You don't know what a trying day I've had.
I can see you're all upset. It isn't anything I've done, is it, dearest?
Well, in a way, something you've done is connected with it.
What's that, darling?
The money.
Money?
I know you want to surprise me with the house, darling, but really you shouldn't have taken that money out of the bank without consulting me.
Henry, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Now, Nettie.
But I do.
Nettie.
Oh, you're so upset, darling. If it's anything important, let's talk about it later. Meanwhile, why don't you just put your head on my shoulder and rest?
I must admit that sounds enticing.
Here, let me make you comfortable. There. Now you just close your eyes. That's it.
Nettie.
Yes, darling.
You hear something?
No, darling.
You sure?
Like what?
Well, like the ticking of a clock.
No.
Well, it's strange. I don't hear it now, but when I had my ear against your chest. Oh, no. Oh, no.
What are you talking about?
No, I won't believe it. You are my Nettie, aren't you? You're a real live flesh and blood. Oh, she couldn't have done that to me. Not Nettie. Can I hear it? And it's coming from you. It's coming from you.
You have just heard another adventure into the unknown world of the future. The world of... Next week, Dimension X moves to a new day and time. It will originate in New York on Saturdays from 8 to 8:30 p.m., beginning September 8th. Consult your local newspaper for the exact day and time in your locality. And don't miss Mary Leinster's story of deep space, First Contact.
Dimension X is presented each week by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of the magazine Astounding Science Fiction. Today, Dimension X has presented Marionettes, Incorporated. Written for radio by George Lefferts, from the story by Ray Bradbury. Featured in the cast were Kermit Murdoch as Henry, Martin Rudy as Brayling, and Ross Martin as Brayling, too. Your host was Norman Rose. Music by Albert Berman. Fred Collins speaking. Dimension X is produced by William Welch and directed by Fred Way.